Right, Mitch, we're on the start line of E3, 15 minutes till the race kicks off for the 2.8k neutral, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty hard day out there. Poggy's not racing anymore, so there's still a lot of big names, but he's out of the equation, so it'll be, it could be a more open race now, I would say. Feeling pretty good. Had a good recovery after San Remo on my crash there, so super motivated and ready to kick off this first race in Belgium with a strong result.
Well, that of course was Laurence Pithie just before E3, and well, the first big weekend up in Belgium for the Cobblestone Classics. G'day guys, this is Live from the Peloton and welcome. We are riding the Classics with Laurence Pithie from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, and this series and the entire Live from the Peloton podcast is being brought to you by MAAP. We at Live from the Peloton and myself personally have been partnered with MAAP for the last 2 years now, and not only have we been enjoying their great fitting cycling kit and their very cool designs, but more on a personal note, I've been loving working with them over the many different projects to help build the cycling community all over the world. It's been a lot of fun. Well, yeah, guys, the Cobbles are here, E3, Gent Wevelgem on the weekend. What a start up in Belgium. Both those races proving their status as premier cobble classics. E3, an absolute masterclass from Mathieu van der Poel, but a great ride as well from Laurence Pithie in second. The race was a story of a big crash at the start where we saw Laurence and the Red Bull boys playing catch up all day. And then look, 2 days later was Gent Wevelgem, showing us what Gent Wevelgem is all about. Crosswinds on the Murren with Pithie and the Red Bull boys ripping it up. Then 3 times over the Camel and Laurence Pithie riding away with some 60k to go, chalking up his record equaling third title. We're going to unpack all this, and I caught up with Laurence yesterday. He was kicking back in the hotel in Belgium, and we got a surprise teammate to pop on for a bit too. And then we get to hear from the Oracle of Belgium, Heinrich Haussler. Man, this guy seriously lives and breathes the classics. I thought I loved them, but wait till you hear from Heino. Not only do we unpack the racing with Heino, but he paints the picture of what it's like to be up and around Flanders during these 2 weeks. But also the best part is we get to go inside the team car with him because he is a sports director over at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Well, just before we hear from these guys, this episode is also sponsored by NordVPN. And all of our listeners can get a great deal on NordVPN subscription by going across to nordvpn.com/pelosurf, whereby if you use a special link, you will get a nice discount off your NordVPN plus an extra 4 months free on top. VPN is a virtual private network which is primarily used to keep your data safe and secure when you're at home or on the move. It's something I completely underestimated when I was traveling around the world as a professional cyclist, continually logging into unsecure hotel Wi-Fi. But really, back then, what was I really doing anyway? What private data did I need to protect? It was probably something someone was hacking. I was mainly using my NordVPN so I could catch up on all my Australian shows and sports while I was living in Europe. But nowadays, it's a bit more serious. I'm running a business, as you guys know, at home and when I'm on the road too. So NordVPN's built-in security features like threat protection, encrypted IP addresses, and extra malware detection mean I can log on to public Wi-Fi networks without worrying about hackers trying to get into my data. I'm really happy to be back using NordVPN. And look, this time it's for an entirely different reason. And like I said before, it's really cool to be able to share the love with you guys. Head over to nordvpn.com/pelosurf, that's PELOSURF, and tap into that cheeky little offer. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, they'll issue you a refund and you can pretend the whole situation never happened. Check out nordvpn.com/pelosurf or follow the link in the show notes and get your subscription started today. Lastly, guys, in case you missed it, the Dirty Docker is coming. Don't miss out. 4 weeks left to get over and get an early bird ticket, a cheeky cheapo, an all-in festival of sport, cyclocross, old school cross country running, and yes, a big old gravel loop. We've even got a beer mile taking place. And of course, live music Saturday night. Pitch a tent, glamping style, kick back and enjoy a few cold ones in the infamous Land Vegas. I'll see you there. Well, here we go, guys. Let's get into it. Lawrence, how are you, bud?
Oh, not too bad. How are you?
I actually sound like I've ridden the whole round of the classics. I've caught a autumn cold over here. I should be sounding like this after the weekend. It sounds like it was.
Yeah, shit. You don't sound great, actually. Not good.
I'm putting it on for you. Tell me about the weekend, mate. We had two massive races, E3 and Gent Wevelgem. Two big boys. Give me a quick synopsis. How you feeling?
Yeah, it was 2 brutal days on the bike, eh? I mean, E3 was super hard, but made harder by a couple mechanicals for me. And then Gent Wevelgem, already on the Moran, opening up with 160k to go on the crosswinds. Yeah, it made for 2 hard, brutal days on the bike.
So take me back to E3. First time for you there, understanding that race itself. It's bloody hard, isn't it? I know you had the mechanicals as well, but just the back-to-back climbs, it is really just, once you get involved, it just comes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was new for me, like you said. It's sort of that mini Flanders, the prep for Flanders, and it was on the gas all day, actually. We were on the back foot from the start. There was quite a big crash after 7K, so breakaway hadn't even gone. Full gas, 60k an hour probably, and yeah, guys stacked it in front, and basically the whole road was blocked. I was off my bike running through the carnage, and all of a sudden 50 dudes were up the road going full gas, trying to take advantage of the crash, and the rest of the peloton was behind chasing, and yeah, the gap blew out pretty rapidly, actually. It went close to 3 minutes, and we were riding with Alpecin because we had no one there, and Van der Poel was behind. But it was kind of just our 2 teams, because a lot of the other teams had either their main guy or their backup guy to play in front. So yeah, it was on the gas from the go.
It's funny because Van der Poel, he spoke about, his team having to commit, and a lot of his guys that he was hoping to have later in the race actually had to ride. What was the feeling like in the bunch? Because I sense there was a little bit of people being semi-pissed off about it, because they're like, the teams in the front were taking advantage of a situation of a crash and actually really pulling hard. And ultimately we saw this drag race of about a 3-minute gap for a long time. Both teams in the front and teams behind having to burn riders earlier than they wanted to. Was there any kind of sort of feeling in the bunch, between your team and, say, I don't know, Alpecin, or even just a general feeling like, what the hell's going on here? How come these guys are pulling in the front?
I mean, the guys in front, they're always going to take advantage of an opportunity like that, especially when you have someone like Van der Poel, who's shown how strong he is and how good he is at these classics. I mean, if they can take the opportunity to put him on the back foot and burn his men, they're going to do that. I guess that's where the UCI kind of have to come in and say, yeah, the commissaires of the race kind of just need to go, right, we're neutralizing the race. The split was caused by a massive crash, and bring it all back together. But that's never going to happen. So yeah, it was a little bit like, I didn't really have time to think about it. We were riding, yeah, almost straight away. Once we all got back together, there was no time to really think and go, hey, this isn't really right, until after the race.
Well, it seemed like you guys all came back together after La Houppe, and you went into the Kwaremont there, and it seemed the 2 groups got back together. But after the top of the Kwaremont, things went into a massive, massive long line. And I was just watching it going, oh, this is just like doom scenario here. Tell me about once the 2 groups rejoined, and I guess the fight then just to move up and get position. And actually, then you were straight into the climbs. You went straight across to the Kruisberg, and then it was on from there.
Yeah, I had my mechanical before La Houppe, so I was in the cars on La Houppe, so it was already going super fast.
Right.
And I got back just before that downhill into Kemmelberg, where the big crash was in Tour of Vlaanderen last year. So I was kind of ripping up the right-hand side of the road. with not too much thought of just trying to get to the front. We could see that group ahead, and I mean, it was full gas from the bottom of that climb. You had guys from that front group who sort of had an easier ride, attacking in front, and then guys from our group attacking to get across to the front. So it was chaos. There was guys everywhere on the road. The dudes who had pulled full gas were just going backwards. So not only were you doing, I think I did 630 watts for 2 minutes. Not only were you doing those outrageous numbers, but also trying to avoid the guys who had put on the handbrake. And then it never slowed down from there. You know, we went to Kwaremont, full gas up there, and then into the sort of most decisive point, like we talked about before, with Côte de Trieu, these climbs. And, you know, it always happens every year, and you have that team who finds their way to the front and gets together and just goes super slow on, I think it's Notterberg, before Taaienberg.
Yep.
And basically, I was quite far back because I didn't have good position. And we got to the top of that climb, and then it was just all in one line. Ineos ripped it. Guys dropping the wheel. I think I was on Wout's wheel, and yeah, sort of a 50-minute gap opened up to front 20, 30 guys. So we were already on the back foot before Taaienberg, and then, you know, you got Mads and Wout Ganna ripping off the front as we're trying to close the gap. So yeah, it felt like a day for me where I was just on the back foot. And I mean, it was such a hard and fast day. I think I averaged 430 watts for the whole day. So
Jesus. That's the thing. That's the thing.
330 watts, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's just leave it at 430. I like the sound of that. That's the thing. And I think it's really hard to understand that until you're there. And once again, I forgot about it, and you're just reminding me, you're taking me straight back there, is that you can have a day, be in the best form ever, and do those rides that no one's ever going to see or care about. Why would they? Because you're closing gaps and whatever. But you're actually going to yourself, I'm actually moving well here. I'm moving around like 20, 30 guys who are getting dropped, and I've been off the back. Why can't I be at the front? Why can't I be doing these following good attacks? And ultimately, you're repairing moves, you're repairing mistakes, or you're closing gaps. And it's sometimes can be the narrative of the whole classics. But it sounds like E3 for me was always the race that I felt like I was doing that, and never clicked for me, E3. I never really loved that race, opposed to, say, a guy like, you know, Tom Boonen. He loved that race. I'm not trying to compare myself to the greats of Boonen, but, you know, it
Come
just...
on, mate. You got it.
It's just such a brutal race, and I love hearing that. I don't like hearing that, but I love hearing it because it's just the same old thing in racing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the classics are so special like that because you don't get it anywhere else in the season. I really forgot how big that fight was, and how good guys at handling the bike, like how good they are at handling their bikes. Like the amount of stuff you see and stuff that's happening in front of you where you think, how was that not a crash? Or how did he just keep that up? And it's just normal. It happens in all these races. It's so special because you've got dudes who their sole job is to get to kilometer 130, this precise spot, kilometer 160. That's their job to get there. Then they can be out of the race. They can go back to the bus.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're pulling suicides to put their guys in position. And if you're not there, then you're on the back foot.
So tell me, you came out of that race, you rolled in at about 7 minutes down. Ultimately, there was a point, you know, at 7 minutes down doesn't mean you cruised in. Your group, I'm imagining, just ripped it all the way in as well. But I'm assuming there was a point there where you went, cool, I've got to save things for 2 days' time, Gent Wevelgem. Tell me a little bit about the end of that race and when you decided to switch your mind to Gent Wevelgem, or was there never a point, you just raced all the way to the line?
Yeah, it probably wasn't only till 15, 20K to go, because I was in the front chasing group, and I had a puncture out of that group right before Paterberg. So I thought, you know, I had good legs. So I thought, right, I can try and get back and hopefully sprint for a minor place. And I just spent pretty much the whole rest of the race in the cars, chasing on, trying to get back. Full gas Paterberg, full gas Kwaremont, and basically just, I mean, I had to go all in. There's not many opportunities here. So I tried to get back. In hindsight, it would have been better to just stop and
Mm.
call it a day and save my legs for Gent Wevelgem. But you just got to keep racing. Sometimes you never know if it'll come back together or not.
Yeah, totally. And that's the right mindset you got to have, because otherwise it's too easy to give up all the time. There's always another race coming, especially in the classics. Tell me about Gent Wevelgem. A couple of days later, that process then to reset, put it back out of your mind and go, cool, that's just a day. Had a few problems, that's no worries, but I know the legs are there. Tell me, to Sunday morning, you're starting Gent Wevelgem. It's a different feeling, isn't it? You got crosswinds at the start and ultimately some climbs at the end, but it's just a different feeling from being around the Flanders region there.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You kind of have to put what happened at E3 behind you and
Yeah.
just take some confidence from where you're at and sort of take it into the next one and try and use it as motivation. So Gent Wevelgem is a race that I really enjoy. It's got a lot of heritage with the Kiwis and Aussies, as it's around like Flanders fields where where the grave sites are and cemeteries are. So it's one I feel sort of close to home a little bit more. And it was a savage race. It was windy, so
When is it?
everyone
When is it
knows.
not windy at Gent Wevelgem?
Yeah, that's also true. Everyone was prepared for that kilometer 98 when we hit the mooring, and I went into it about second wheel behind Pedersen, and yeah, we ripped it. But took a while for the elastic to snap actually to that second group, and it only really got out to 30 seconds, to be honest. I think Merlier and Philipsen missed it, so they had their guys riding full gas behind, and it all came back together. And then, you get to the Kemmelbergs. And I think I probably got a little bit too excited. My teammates did a great job of putting me in good position, and I tried to rip it up there, and it never split actually. In terms of the Peloton, it wasn't like last year where, yeah, 8 of us got away. It all sort of stayed together, and then it was just flat stack attacks after that, getting towards the Plugstruts, they call them, those gravelly road, but it's mostly hard packed now. And that's where Mads went on his raid and rode pretty much everyone out of his wheel and rode away to the breakaway.
What did it feel like, rewind back to the Morin, being there and having the chance to actually play that card in the front of the race, opposed to, repairing stuff and doing those crazy watts out the back? Well, not necessarily out the back, but moving through the bunch. This time you're like, great, I can actually put the hurt on these guys. I'm with the best, with Mads Pedersen at the front, and we're doing it now. My effort here is worth something. To feel good to be actually starting, and when you got to the Kemmelberg as well, to actually be a player in the race this year.
Yeah, it does. It does always feel good, especially when you've got your teammates around you. They've all made it as well. So everyone's super motivated and hyped up to be there. But I mean, crosswinds are great when you're in front. I know how horrible they are when you're behind. So you kind of just stoked to be there and you go all in.
So ultimately, look, you came in the big bunch. Muller won the sprint for that, but you were in the group that finished 49 seconds behind Mads Pedersen, who soloed away for the victory. Coming out of Gent Wevelgem, you were still right there in the front group. You played a big part up the Kemmelberg as well. And obviously the Morin there, and just feeling part of the race. Tell me about you tomorrow. You're going, well, it's Tuesday here, so almost 2 days away for you. You're going into Dwars to Vlaanderen and then into Flanders. How are you sitting now, mate? What are your thoughts? You got the two big ones. Well, Dwars to Vlaanderen is another good hit out. It's still an important race, but you got the Flanders and Roubaix still to come. How's the confidence? How are you feeling?
I think there's some work to do, some mistakes to correct, but I think we can be fairly confident. We've ridden well as a team, but
Nice.
we just haven't been able to convert it to results in the back end. I think so far it's been pretty underwhelming with these two races. So we really need to be on the ball and try and make something happen.
Have you got anything you want to do in Dwars to Vlaanderen different, just to try something, go on the attack early, or sit back and wait, or what's your idea in the back of your mind, what you want to try and do in Waregem to try and prepare yourself best for Flanders, mentally and physically?
I think it could be a slightly different race this year because they've taken out Kwaremont after that crash last year, because it was a Flanders Classics race. They've taken out that climb, and that's always quite decisive from when I've watched it. So, I mean, for me, it'll just be about following the best guys and really trying to be there when the favorite goes. I don't think I'll be the one to be lighting it up, but it's like any other race, figuring out those decisive moments in the pre-race briefing, and then really going all in for that spot. And you're either there and you're defending, or you're not there and you're chasing from behind. So I want to be there and trying to race offensively and in front, and trying to bring it back. So, I mean, I've learned a lot from these races. I kind of wasn't really in the flow, I would say. In E3, I was sort of, not fighting for position as much as I would have liked to be. And I think I really managed to find that flow again in Gent Wevelgem. So, I mean, you know what it's like. It's a different race, on those Belgian roads, different sort of racing. So you really have to fight for every position. All of a sudden, you're being dive bombed. So if you're not the one doing dive bomb, someone's doing it to you. So you really have to have your wits about you. So I'll be trying to be on the front foot again with my team, and just really trying to make something happen. To be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, you can't underestimate where you've come from. Fitness-wise, you're probably in fantastic shape, but mentality, race-wise, you haven't done racing since you were out here in Australia and New Zealand. So it's probably going to take a little bit to click into gear to get that little bit of edge back, and that little bit of, tactical nous and the way you need to be in the bunch. And Wevelgem is going to be, Dwars of Vlaanderen is going to be a great chance to do that again. It's only got 10 climbs opposed to sort of 17 of Flanders. It's 180. So it is a race I'm assuming you can just afford to really go on the front foot on and go deep and try things out and really test yourself out and not be afraid of, the distance or the amount of climbs or the field. There's some slightly less riders there. So I always saw it as an opportunity for me to actually try and get a result, as it was a slightly lesser race. And for a guy like yourself, it's a great chance for preparation for Flanders, I guess, to try those things out and build that final bit of confidence up.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think each race I should be getting better, and it should be going in a positive direction. So, it's another opportunity, but also the opportunities are running out. You start to feel a little bit more pressure, and you want to perform so badly that, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a bike race, so we're going to give it our all.
Give me the last run into the Ronde now. You've got, as we've mentioned before, you got Wevelgem on Wednesday, and then you got Thursday, Friday, Saturday before the big one. Tour of Flanders is 269k this year, and they got 17 climbs. It's a big one. It's very similar to the courses of all the other years. Tell me, is there a planned recon? What's the idea after Wevelgem?
Yeah, we'll do recon maybe Thursday or Friday even. Maybe the day after the race could do recon, but I'd say probably Friday between, sort of have a recovery day, then a longer recon, and then an activation day before Holy Sunday. So I think it'll be important to do that recon, really see the lead-ins to Kwaremont again and Paterberg, because, I mean, those lead-ins can make or break your race, I think. So it's going to be super important. What I realized coming back to these Belgian races is how many little accelerations. I mean, they don't look so hard on TV. Watching the racing back, it looks like everyone's just, doing a little sprint out of the corner, but you don't realize how taxing they are. And if you can really put yourself in good position, you don't have to sprint as hard. So those little match burners that aren't necessary, and if you're in good position, I think trying to limit those coming in Sunday's race will be super, super important. So if we can really get the course knowledge for those decisive corners and climbs, it'll be super important.
How are you going with the memory of the climbs? You sound pretty good. You know all the climbs, the names, the run-ins, that sort of thing. You got the Koppenberg, which doesn't appear in any other race in the Tour of Flanders, which is going to be great. I always like to do the Koppenberg. I say that now in reflection. At the moment, I didn't, but I think it's always a cool climb to do. So hard, so chunky. How are you going with the course recon mentally yourself? You know where you are when you're rolling around?
Not like you do, Mitch, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there, race after race. It's good having Heino here. He's super into that. Always on VeloViewer. He's got so much experience, so he's really helping with that side of things. But I do have pretty good knowledge now. I don't know all the climbs by name, but once I'm there and in it, I go, oh, I remember this. Oh, that's where I was last year. It's these little, you sort of get deja vu a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the Koppenberg, I've got good memories of that last year as I was sprinting up in my cleats or trying to. Have you ever had to walk up there?
Mate, many a time. I think I've probably ridden up there less times than I've walked.
Yeah, it's a humbling experience, isn't it?
It is. And I joke about it, but there just comes a moment where if someone stops in front of you, you've got no choice. Like, it's not like you're not strong enough. It's like that's the end of the day and you can't get started again.
No, it's impossible. I remember last year when we did Recon, it was a little bit wet and I was trying to flick a few of my teammates by chopping them up a little bit so they had to unclip and walk the rest of the way up.
Oh, God. Have you heard what's the talk in the team coming out of the classics? What's the vibe like around? You mentioned Heino. I'm assuming he's very positive and filling your heads with lots of information. How's the feeling around the camp in the hotel? Because now you're up in the camp, you're in the hotel for the last couple for the next couple of weeks and been there already for a week, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a super nice vibe here. We're gelling really well. I think the results side of things is definitely more of a dampener, but we're trying to keep high spirits and we've still got plenty of opportunities to come. So yeah, I think it's just about if we don't have a good race or don't get something right, just about getting back on the horse and really getting around each other and keeping the morale high, because that can make such a big difference when you're here in Belgium for 3 weeks.
I'm going to put it on you. Who's going to win Wevelgem and Flanders, mate?
I guess Mads will be there trying to do some crazy solo again, but I don't think Van der Poel or Ganna. Well, we'll be looking for vengeance after last year, I'd say. But to really call a winner, it's pretty hard. I think can't really go past Pedersen. He's sort of looking in that sort of alien category at the moment. So I think he'll be a hard one to beat for Wevelgem for Wednesday. And then for Sunday, it's going to be the duel, isn't it? Poggy versus Van der Poel. I think as much as I'd love to be there fighting with them, I think to be more realistic, it's probably going to be pretty impossible. So I'd say one of them, and I'll say Poggy. Yeah, I think he'll be looking for vengeance after San Remo and try and hit Van der Poel where it hurts in his honey hole.
Mate, I know it'd be very hard to pick yourself, but I'm still backing you right till the end. I know you're going to be very good at Wevelgem because I feel like you said, to be able to move with the guys at the front of Gent Wevelgem means you've got the form. You just had to find that racing edge once again, which you've had now. You've had your couple warm-ups. You got Wevelgem to really show your colours, and then you're going to be one of the favourites leading into Tour of Flanders. So cheers, buddy. Good to speak to you.
You're too kind, mate. I'll try and make it happen, but you know what it's like here.
Mate, get Mullen to drop you in the right position. Use him up.
Yeah. He'll be there. Don't worry. I've got Welsford here, actually.
Oh, Welsford. Is he?
Yeah, here. I'll put you on speaker. We'll get a little insight from him.
Sam, how are you, buddy?
What's going on, Mitch?
We're just trying to get the insight to what it's like being up there in the classics. What's it been like up there? What's the vibe like?
Well, I wouldn't know because I haven't been up there.
Yeah, well, you're the vibe bringer. You've just come in to bring the spirits up.
Yeah, I know. Well, they fucking shat the bed without me at Gent Wevelgem, so they had to bring me back in.
What's your role coming into Wevelgem, mate? You going to mix it up? You going to go up the road? You setting up Laurence?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can help the boys in a way that is a lot more deeper into the race. I had to, unfortunately, in E3 we got stuck behind that huge crash, so then we had to kind of help Alberson pull it back because they didn't wait, which is quite an interesting topic. And then so I pulled like 100k on the front to bring them back, got them to the bottom of the climb, and said see ya. But I mean, yeah, hopefully, on Wednesday I can try help the guys a bit longer where it matters, like in those vital points. I mean, I think door is probably a little bit too hard for me. You don't really see many pure sprinters getting around on it, But hopefully I can just go really deep into the race and then really help these boys when they're in the deep, last couple sections, and just give them the best chance to get up there.
Do you like being up there in the classics? I'm assuming you learn a lot riding when you're riding with, what was the team called then? Sunweb, DSM. Did you learn a lot the classics there and got a loving for it, or did you just do it because you have to?
No, I actually don't mind doing it, and I also don't mind helping the boys, because how many days have these guys been in front of me leading me out in the most hectic scenarios? So I like kind of paying them back and doing what I can, and I think that just comes off the culture we have here. We have such a good team here. All the guys are really, really get along well, so it makes it really easy for me to end myself on the front for these boys. So. But yeah, I really like the classics. I think the whole history of them is super cool, and just they're the hardest races of the year, the one-day races of the year. So I think everyone wants to be in those situations where you're up the front and just enjoying the crowd, and racing for the win here is like nothing else.
Have you guys got a good recovery loop down pat around the hotel there and a good coffee shop?
Oh yeah, we scoped out a few. We're actually staying near Ghent, so it's actually mega. There's so many good breweries in here, as you'd probably remember. So, yeah, I mean, it always consists a bit of the shelter for the efforts, and then bash around maybe some other way back. Try not to ride on it too much.
Anything planned for, I don't know, you probably wouldn't do anything after Flanders, but you got anything planned after Roubaix? We used to try and do a little breakup party because, we feel like it's like finishing a Grand Tour, and we deserve to have a little piss up. You guys got anything organised for after Roubaix?
Hopefully it's a celebration party, mate.
Mate, it's a celebration if you can get to that velodrome no matter where you come.
Yeah, fucking oath. I was bloody happy to get there last year with a broken handlebar. But I don't know. I think it's a good idea, actually, because it's kind of underwhelming when everyone just kind of skirts off and that's it.
Totally.
Yeah, I feel like it's such an endeavour, and it's basically like a mini Grandy here, because you're doing, you're here for 3 weeks, and some of these guys don't go home. So I think it's a good thing to do. And even Alberson do it. I heard before the finish last year, Van der Poel booked out this whole club regardless of winning or losing. So
it's motivation for
cool.
you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, boys, I'll let you get to sleep. Big day coming up. Recovery ride or activation tomorrow, and then you're into it.
Yeah, stuck in, mate. Good to speak to you.
See you, boys.
See you, mate.
Bye, mate.
Heinrich.
Hi, buddy.
How are you?
Good.
I've got a bit of a classics cold, as you can probably hear.
Is that possible?
Well, it's the time. It's the season. It just comes on every year. I just feel like I need to have a little bit of a sore throat. I wouldn't feel right if I wasn't watching the races, feeling a little bit on the edge.
Yeah, it seems to be the case with a lot of people at the moment.
Mate, how's it all been going? You know the classics yourself. Second at Flanders, second at Milan-San Remo, 3 times 10 at Roubaix, just to name a few. You're there in the mix of it. You're a DS now, mate. How is it on the other side?
To be honest, it's on one way I'm kind of a little bit glad I'm not a rider anymore, because you just see the way the peloton's moving. You see also, how fast they're riding, how dangerous things are. You see the watts that they do averaging over the course of the race. You see how the pre-finals, how early they're starting. You see also the effort and the sacrifice that the boys are doing already, over the winter and leading up to the races. So to be honest, we're lucky this year with the weather, but in other races before that, when it's really like in Torino and Paris-Nice, just freezing cold, like snow and rain, you know, you definitely, it's better being in the car, to be honest.
You say the sacrifice over the winter, but you can't undersell the work that, you know, you did yourself, and, you know, I guess the pros of the time as well. It's just a different time, I guess, when it gets to the racing. Or you reckon they're sacrificing more in the winters now?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way they're working, and especially like with nutrition, maybe I see it as a sacrifice because we didn't do that in the past.
Mm.
And maybe for the young guys coming through, that's just, you know, well, yeah, actually it is that. Like all the other teams, you know, that's just the way it is. You know, they've all the training they need to be doing, the altitude camps away from home. You know, the altitude camps already in January. I think they don't know nothing else, so probably for them it is actually not a sacrifice.
What about the nutrition? What are they doing? And you mean in terms of fueling, or you mean of restricting?
Well, fueling, restricting, everything, you know, like as an example, you know, we have a nutritionist here, a chef in the hotel. The nutritionist is pretty much just standing next to the guys 24/7 with his laptop open and calculating every single calorie that they're putting into their bodies. And it's pretty full on, to be honest. There's no really room for any type of freedom or you know, having a snack or enjoying a piece of chocolate or anything like that.
So when you think of the classics, is it a case of these guys, you look at the amount they're eating, are they eating more or less than when, say, you were fueling yourself for the classics? Because I've always felt like when they came to the classics, maybe we weren't fueling enough, or maybe we were over fueling. I don't know.
I think we were definitely, before the race, the amount of pasta or the amount of carbs that we would think that we needed, we were over fueling.
Right.
But I mean, these days, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember when we used to race. You know, I don't necessarily know how many carbs were in the bottles, if there was any in the first place. But it was kind of like just a gel and a bar. You have the feed zone in the middle. You grab a bag. If you missed it, you missed it, and then off you go. But now it's like, you know, proper calculated from the nutritionist. Even, you know, there's even a page added into the PowerPoint meeting in the bus, you know, going through exactly what they need to take, how many grams per hour. Everyone has their own PDF before the race.
Wow.
You know, some of them are taking even up to 140 grams per hour. So it's definitely changing a lot.
You know, the common thing, and we'd often see it with riders, and I definitely noticed it myself, you go into the classics at a certain weight, and it's very difficult to come out of the classics at that weight. You'd always seem to gain a few kilo throughout the classics. And it was like, oh, yeah, you're sitting around the hotel eating all this food all the time. But as you said then, we weren't really fueling correctly in the race, but maybe we were fueling incorrectly outside of the race, feeling like we had to pile on all this extra pasta, and, you know, we'd have cooking parties and things like this in our hotel, you know, but in the race we weren't feeling enough. So it sounds like these guys are just eating normally outside of the race, but in the race they're over fueling, or not over fueling, but in comparative to what, say, we were doing back in the day.
Yes, definitely 100%. So in the race itself, they're taking that many calories and that many carbs on board that they really don't need to eat that much before and after. And obviously, if they don't eat enough during the race, they're going to have to kind of catch up on that. And that means pretty much not necessarily overeating, but you're going to need to take on a lot of calories. And then, you know, there's only a certain amount of carbs actually you can get into your body, or say not necessarily carbs, but a certain amount of volume of pasta or rice, what you can eat. So then you're going to have to grab like other sources, like, you know, I don't know, like chocolate sprinkles or honey, or, you know, putting topping on top of white bread just to get the carbs and the sugars, the volume and the amount that you need.
Are you seeing the riders hold their weight throughout the classic?
Yeah, that's actually one thing I was going to say. There's no fluctuations anymore, really. If the riders are sticking to the plan 100%, then you really only notice a difference, unless they've been using bicarb, for example. There's not really much of a difference. There's only, you know, like 0.4, 0.5, or not grams, but like 400, 500 grams of weight difference. And a lot of the time that's just, you either the guys have had a big meal and they're just storing more water in the body, or their glycogen levels are completely full. But it's definitely, I mean, I've seen a big difference in compared in the past. Yes, like you said, you'd come out of the Classics campaign after Roubaix, and all of a sudden you'd be 3 kilos heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the way it was back then, because you're racing Wednesday, you race Friday, you race Sunday, then it's like you're scared, like, oh, I've got to eat, so I have enough energy, and you're just constantly overeating.
He certainly was. Mate, you've been brought in for the Cobblestone Classics. You're a specialist in this region, and that's even underselling it. You weren't at San Remo. You got brought in for E3 and Gent Wevelgem. We're just before Waregem and Flanders. Tell me, mate, you sort of got the ball started, the ball rolling. How are the boys going? What's it like? What's the feeling like in the camp? And what does it feel like being back on the stones, with the team?
Well, I mean, for me personally to be here, it's actually why I do the job, or why I wanted to be a director. If I'm completely honest, I'm still have that kind of mindset. Okay, Roubaix finish. Somehow I just have to get through the season, and then once we get to the winter, then start to get ready, do all the prep, and get ready for the classics. But yeah, it's I'm doing the dream job in my eyes. I mean, it's for me, it's a hobby. I love being up here. I love spending time with the boys, and just in general, the racing up here. I think it's a very exciting style of racing, different to the Grand Tours and some of the other races. And I think also for the next coming races, what's coming up, with the battles between Mathieu, Pogacar going now to Roubaix, Mats Pedersen, Jumbo just a little bit on the back foot. Walt at the moment's not performing how everyone's expecting. So we're going to see some great battles coming up in the next 2 weeks, and also would like to do 1 or 2 sneaky moves, and we're constantly talking here with the boys, trying to invent some kind of special tactic. But if I'm honest, against those 3, 4, 5 real top big guns, it's very difficult, because these races are just so hard that at the end of the day, the legs, they speak.
Well, let's rewind back to E3 and Gent Wevelgem. E3 was a funny race because there was a big crash at the start, and then the peloton was split. You guys, as well as some other teams, used a lot of men trying to just close that gap again after being caught behind the crash. Laurence had a few other problems during the race, ultimately came out of the race with mixed emotions. Moving on to Gent Wevelgem, different story, even though the result wasn't there at the end. The team played a big part in the race, splitting it up on the Murren. Laurence being involved on the Kemmelberg the first time or second time, I can't remember. The team was in the race, a different story to E3. Ultimately, still haven't come away with that result. Give me a bit of a rundown on those 2 races, your feelings from them.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm actually super happy with the way the boys ride together. One thing that the people out there listening, they have to a little bit understand that it is a process. It takes a little bit of time for the boys to gel. We have complete new different riders coming on board, all from different teams, and they're actually racing here for the first time together. Obviously Laurence down in Oz doing the Down Under program. The other half of the team was in UAE. The Van Dijk brothers were at altitude, and then you have the old mix of the team with Jordi Moyes, Ryan Mullen, Danny van Poppel. So there's like 3 different teams coming all together in one. And for E3 and in Gent Wevelgem, playing the card also with Laurence, missing the split due to a crash, 50 guys going up the road. We weren't represented, and obviously, we wanted to be in the race, bring it back. At that stage, we were completely out of the race, and the gap went out over 3 minutes. So it was just the way. If we wanted to be in the race, then we had to also commit and pull. But then halfway into the race, like around about 100 kilometers, heading towards the Taaienberg, Laurence had a mechanical So it's just the way it is. If you have a mechanical on that point of the race, it's just so fast. It's so hard to get back. So we changed bikes, tried to get him back up there, but obviously, due to the speed, he was out of position for Korteke and then the run into Taaienberg. And it's just the way it is. If you're not in position there, it's so hard to fight your way back through. And he did eventually get back to the main part of the peloton, the bigger group. And then before Paterberg, he had a flat tire. And we had car 16. It came through on radio too. Flat tire. Red Bull Bora. Laurence also. Flat tire, little flat tire. Like
the radio.
And you're sitting there on that one single lane road, knowing you can't do nothing. You can't pass the cars. You know that the cars, because they're also not going to give up their spot before Paterberg.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there and you're like, mate, you don't say it obviously in the radio, but you're sitting there like, mate, sorry, the race is done. It's over. We can't get to the front. So unfortunately that was race over for Laurence in Heidelberg, and pretty much also, but that's just the way it is. Everyone has their own stories. Everyone has bad luck, mechanicals, flat tires. We just need a result to make it click. Get the ball rolling, but I'm super happy with the way the boys ride together, especially in Gent Wevelgem.
Yeah,
they were there. Small little mistake maybe from Laurence, just showing himself too much, burning a few matches too early, and then when the move went with Pedersen, Olaf Koy crashed right in front of him, and had to let the wheel go, and there was a gap in between, and once Pedersen had that gap, it was just he couldn't close it anymore. And then afterwards, we played the card, Jordi Moyes, try and get it back for a sprint. Could have also gone our way. It could have been a little bit better. He was fighting for a podium spot, but that's just the way it is. Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow we have a new tactic, and we try something different.
I think that's a really positive note. Like you said, the team's gelling together already after coming in. They've only had a chance just to get together quickly before the classic start. They had E3, a bit of a hard race to find out where they were, but already they've turned things around for Gent Wevelgem, moving really well. And now we're into, I guess, the last hit out before the Ronde. Wevelgem, a race that I really did like. It's a race where you can do things, it's not overly brutal, so you can get through the race, not overly long, 180k. So it's a nice race. I think it's a nice where it sits now as well on the Wednesday before Flanders. What's your thought about this race in general, but also with the team and how it's going to be a nice little stepping stone towards the big one?
Well, I mean, just in general, you're up here for almost 3 weeks, and it's just the whole big lead up to Flanders also. The supporters on the side of the road, when the boys are going out in between the races, training, stopping at a cafe or getting a coffee, the supporters coming up, wanting photos, wanting autographs, and people in the riders in the newspaper. And, it's a massive build up. And this is just, the last race before Flanders. The weather is kind of strange this year. It's kind of super warm. And so there seems to be more people out at the races also. But Wevelgem's, it's kind of like the last test, the last hit out. Not all the big guns are here, so we're still missing like Garner and Pogacar and Mathieu, and so it's a little bit also okay for the teams that haven't performed. They also want to show something. So there's still points up for grab, World Tour points up for grabs. And also for us, it's a chance. It's a chance to be up there. It's a chance to show yourself. It's a chance for the team to gain confidence. Also, riders like Laurence, to be up there to go for the win. And if you can come out of this race feeling good and grabbing some confidence, then it's going to help you on next Sunday. So it's for me personally, all the races there, of course, Flanders and Roubaix is at the highest, but they're all, for me, in my eyes, they're all super important. And it's also, like I said before, it's a process. We're only on our third race now, and it's not just for this year; it's also for next year. Building that team atmosphere, that the boys go out there, work as a team, and just sacrifice each other for that one goal.
Well, give us the run into Flanders then. So you've got Wevelgem, but then you've got a couple of days until Flanders. What's the recon look like, and what's the purpose of doing a recon in between Wevelgem and Flanders?
So we've actually decided to do the recon directly after Wevelgem on the Thursday. So coming a little bit more from the trainer side, saying just because the fact that the trainers say, okay, look, the guys are racing around about 4 hours on Wednesday. Normally their motors are that big enough to handle also a recon on Thursday, and it's better to give them Friday, Saturday more rest, so the muscles and the body can just completely recover. Because Sunday is just it's 6 hours of just brutal hard racing, and it just damages the body so much that the guys need to be as fresh as possible, and that's why we're deciding to do our recon on Thursday. And we're going to be doing roughly around about 95 kilometers, and then it's just 2 days super easy, and then for all in for Sunday.
Well, it's the lead up now. It's exciting. You can feel it. Heino, are you, like you said before, you're not missing it at this moment, but I'm sure when you get to Flanders, there'll be a bit of FOMO, no doubt.
Oh yeah, I mean, I must say, when you are in the car, it's the emotions that you go through. they're that up and down. That yeah, I mean, because it's only 2 years ago that I stopped. So also, what they're thinking. The stress in the peloton, the build up. When you're fighting for those key moments, and which I think also helps because you know exactly what they're thinking, what they're going through still, and I think that comes also good across, like in the radio. You can really guide them perfectly, but Sunday is going to be completely different. Just already now you see when you go for a training ride or the other races. They're already building all the stands, the VIP area. The people are out there. They're just standing there on the course. You're doing recons or other just normal laps, and photographers are just standing everywhere on the cobblestone sections. And you get there on Sunday in the car, and you just think, like, where are all these people coming from? I mean, these days they're coming from all around the world. It's a massive event, and I mean, we're going to have good weather, which is also going to make it even more bigger. I was just talking to Roger Hammer now, the second sports director here. He was last year actually on the Kwaremont, in the VIP area.
Yeah.
And he was just also saying, like, it's just absolutely bananas, the people there. And I said to him, I said, yeah, we got to do it one year. So I might have to miss it 1 year as the director and stand on the Kwaremont or on the Paterberg and have a beer and support the boys.
The funny thing is, Heino, and I don't know about for you, but in my experience, I never really noticed the crowd that much until I was outside of the race. So, for instance, if I was dropped and I had to ride up the Kwaremont on my own or just with a few guys and I wasn't in the mindset of racing, I went, whoa, there's heaps of people here. But in the moment of actually following the wheel and in the race, you don't notice the noise or you don't notice as many people. Do you reckon?
Yep, 100%. I mean, not at all. But I mean, as you go through there with the car, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I mean, the amount of work also that they put in there, like the VIP areas around the whole kind of that last 60-kilometer loop. When you're doing Kwaremont, Paterberg, Kemmelberg, then going over to Maria Borstraat, heading towards Taaienberg. It's just on every single climb. There's just thousands, and they're standing like 6, 7 men deep or 7 men back.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be something special because I mean, it's been a long time since we've had weather like at the moment. It's like 15 degrees. On the weekend, they're expecting 18, 19 degrees. So it's also going to be a hot one. It's going to be crazy.
Well, mate, you painted the picture perfectly for us. Always good hearing your voice, Heino. Thanks for catching up.
No worries. Thanks.
And good luck to the boys.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, we're on the eve of Flanders. The Ronde. The best time of the year is right here. Holy Week in Belgium. Holy Week around the world. The Cobble Classics. the best part of the cycling season, guys. How good is this? How good is it being on the road with Laurence? Riding the cobbles with him. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying catching up with him and actually all the people around it too. Great chatting to Heino. Big thanks goes out to MAAP, who are bringing you this podcast, and of course, Red Bricks Media, who string these episodes together on a whim. Thank you guys over at Red Bricks. And of course, you guys for listening. Guys, we've got a cracker coming up. The next episode, the last episode with Laurence, will be before Paris-Roubaix. We'll be talking about what happened in Flanders and we'll be previewing Roubaix. So guys, until next week, hang in and enjoy the racing.
That iconic music in this episode was composed by none other than the legend, Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.